In this video, I'm going to specifically talk about ground up property development. That's what I've been doing for over 20 years, and that's where my, if I like to call it, don't like the word, but expertise lies. There are other strategies out there, but I believe that ground up property development is really the pinnacle of those strategies within the property industry, and specifically within property development. But there is a word of caution that comes with this. Although I'm going to outline the process, don't believe that that's everything that you need to know. In fact, you can go across our YouTube channel, and there's over 500 videos, and you'll get some great content there. But the reality is that there's a lot more to it that, and if you don't get some proper formal training, then believe you me, you will make some catastrophic mistakes, and that will far outweigh the small cost that you pay for training, whether that's with us or whether it's with another provider. I really would implore you to do that, and particularly because more recently I've had a number of people come to me and they have made some major mistakes. We've got people who have bought property at auction with that, and when I say property, I'm talking about land at auction, not realizing that some of the cost implications that they're likely to make, and in fact some of those projects are completely not viable, even though they felt that they had paid a reasonable price for that particular piece of land. So I'm going to go through the process, but I really would implore that you take at least the next step in your property development journey. That may be just further investigation. I do have a book which you'll see behind me, You a Property Developer, so if you'd like a copy of that, we'll certainly make that available to you. But as I go through the process, understand that this is really just an introduction. So let's get started. So this is the Build It and Prosper process map, and it's broken down into 3 phases. Find it, plan it, and build it. By far the most important part is the find it. That's where you'll make or lose your profit. So find it is critically important, and it's also probably the most trickiest part of the development process. The next part is the plan it. So once you've got a particular viable site, then you need to plan your build. That's taking it through planning permission as well. And then finally, you need to build out the site in order to meet your exit strategy. Your exit strategy could be to sell on the properties for the profit, or it could be to rent them out. So whatever strategy it is that you are aiming for, that's how you get to it. So let's just go through this in a little bit more detail. So the first part is the find it. And within that we have 3 phases, and in each of, or 3 stages should I say, and within each of these phases we have 3 stages. So we have the first one, which is detect, and detect refers to a couple of areas. First of all, understanding what the planning authority that you're looking for land in is going to expect when you submit a planning application. And so just to slightly backtrack on this, one of the things that I teach and have found is that you really in most cases have to find off-market land. The reality is that there's sites on the market, but they rarely stack up because the price that is being asked for has been overinflated, and that's usually through a lack of experience from an estate agent who doesn't know what they're talking about. And that was the subject of last week's video, so I'll put a link up above so that you can have a look at that if you want to investigate that one a little bit further. However, so the first thing is understanding what the planners are looking for, and then understanding and then looking for your off-market land. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to find off-market land, other than to make you aware that that's kind of what you need to be able to do. The second bit is that once you've found a piece of land and you've got a landowner who's basically saying, yes, I am interested in selling it, the first thing they're going to ask you is how much are you willing to pay for it? And the reality is at this stage you don't know, and that's why on-market land just doesn't work, because it's already had a price that's been set without going through any sort of formula in order to determine what the value of that site is. But essentially what you're looking to do is you're looking to take the full price of the site, in other words what that will sell for once you've got it built out, whether that's 1 house, 10 houses, or however many houses it is. we call that gross development value. What's the valuation of that site? And then secondly, what we take off is at least 25%, which is our build profit of the gross development value. So in a single house, say for instance, that is going to sell for 400,000, we're going to take 100,000 off that, and that's going to be our build profit. And then from there we take off our costs. These are going to be our development costs and our build costs. The build cost is the physical structure that goes on the site, and the development costs are everything else that's associated with bringing that site to completion, such as planning fees, such as bringing in the power supply and all the other associated costs. And so once you've established that, you take those again away from the gross development value, and you're left with a figure which then tells you what the land is worth. Now that's the land worth, is what it's worth with full planning permission. What we then are able to show you is how you actually then take a planning uplift profit in addition to that. So typically you're looking at a profit usually of around about 33% that you're aiming for in the overall situation when you are buying off-market land. So having done that and gone through various checklists, and we do have a checklist incidentally, and again I'll put a link up above the video here for that, which you can actually go through, but that is no substitution for understanding the background to that checklist, but certainly that's available to you should you wish that. And then finally we're going to negotiate the deal with the landowner. We're going to be fairly transparent, in fact fully transparent, of how we've arrived at that valuation, and we're going to negotiate a deal. We'll get back to the video in just a moment. If you're really serious about creating a property development business, then I would suggest that the next logical step for you would be to get a copy of my book, You a Property Developer. Simply go to the website of the same name, youapropertydeveloper.com. I'm going to cover the cost of the book. All I'm going to ask is that you contribute to the cost of the postage and packaging. Head over to youapropertydeveloper.com and pick up a copy now. Having got the deal, we now move to the planning stage. And what we're then looking to do is, first of all, take it through the planning process, and there's a number of things that you need to do before you actually take it through the planning process. You need to understand what you're going to build there before you actually employ an architect, because they can run away with the design, as very often architects will, because they want to create something that is really quite outstanding, which is fine depending on where you're actually doing that build, but it might be if you're doing it in a relatively lower cost area, then you don't want something that's too fancy. And if they design something that is over fancy, what that's going to have is the implication of pushing up your costs. So there's a number of things that you need to be able to assess there before you actually get to the point of actually having drawings done. And then once you've got planning permission, they will apply for building control regulations, and that's in order to make sure that you can actually basically it's about how you're going to build that property. And once you've got those drawings, you're then able to actually get proper costings. So prior to that, we've worked on average costings, but with this we're going to nail down the prices. We're going to now start lining up our contractors, we're going to line up our plant and machinery. We're going to be looking at ordering our materials, or at least lining up the materials, getting quotes, and so that we are properly ready when the building control regulations are satisfied, or building warrant as it is in Scotland, then we are able to then really get to start the build once that approval comes through. So typically you're going to have a 2 to 3 month period in order for that to be able to do that, which is plenty of time to plan your build. And then finally, of course, you need to be able to fund it, and the thing that I would say here is that often a lot of people say, well, I don't have enough money to be able to do this, and so they never get actually started looking for land. The problem is that until you've actually got a project, you can't get any funding at all, because they have nothing to look at. They have no project to look at. So a funder, whether that is a commercial funder or a private investor, and we can show you how to access both of those, once they have a project, they can make that assessment. But until they have that, then they can't make that assessment. So the first protocol is actually find a deal before you even worry about trying to find funding. And I'll be absolutely straight with you, if you have the right deal, you will find the funding. So it's about having the right deal and having that packaged properly for a funder to be able to have a look at that and be interested in that. And once you've got all of that in place, you've got the planet phase satisfied, you've got your building control or building warrant regulation satisfied, you're now ready to build. And this is by far the easiest part of the process. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's the easiest part of the process. And so the first thing is you're going to do is strip back your site, you're going to prepare your site, you're going to comply with all the different health and safety regulations you need to comply, bring in your welfare facilities, and then you're going to start the dig ready to put in your foundations. This is an area where it can trip you up a little bit, and this is why you need significant contingencies, because until you actually get out of the ground, you can't be 100% certain of your costs, because it might require a different type of foundation depending on what you find when you actually do the dig. So prior to planning permission, you will do some trial pits and you will have an idea of what the ground conditions are, but you're not actually covering the whole of the ground. So these are only trial pits in various parts of the actual land that you're building on. Until you actually dig down, you don't know whether you're going to come across soft land, because you need to come down to hard land before you can actually put the foundation footings in. And that may require that you come up a further block, or it may be that you have to turn to a different type of foundation. Once you're out of the ground, you can be fairly certain of your costs. So getting out of the ground is critical. As I say, you need to have plenty of contingencies in there in order to cover that cost. And then we do build the superstructure. That can be a timber frame constructor. It can be using brick and block traditional. It can be using a product that we recommend, which is Eco Bricks. And so whatever the type of construction, that is your structural part of the building. And once that's what we call wind and watertight, you can then be working on the outside and the inside of the house. So the superstructure is now in place, the roof is in place. You then start to slate the roof on the inside. You start to do the internals on the outside, and then the internals on the inside, and that then is completes it to what we call first fix level. And then when we get to second fix level, what we're essentially doing is that we are finishing the outside. So that's going to be a render perhaps on the outside, and we're going to be putting in then connecting our services at this point. And finally, we're going to be doing the landscaping, so tidying up the outside. On the inside, it's the finishing, such as putting in the kitchens, putting in all the doors, skirtings, doing the final coat of paint, doing the fitting in the bathrooms, and completing it so as that you have a habitable product. And then you have to apply for all the different certificates in order to get approval from the building control authorities, and your building warranty, which is the warranty that is required by the Council of Mortgage Lenders in order to get lending from, in other words, the lending from for the purchaser of that product, or indeed if you are looking to rent out the product. So that's a brief overview. Obviously there's a great deal of detail in that. We actually cover that detail in a 3-day course, and in addition we have 24 courses online that cover that detail as well. So if that interests you, then please contact us at Build It and Prosper. If you go to our website builditandprosper.com, you'll find that there is a button there to where you can find out more information in terms of our pricing and everything like that. We're very open and transparent, but we don't actually allow you to buy off the site, off the website. We want to have a discovery call with you to ensure that this is a good fit for you. So if that interests you, please book a discovery call. We'll have a conversation. We'll send you out a brochure. We'll ask you to complete a quiz, because we want to make sure that this is the right fit for you. This is a no pressure, and I really emphasize no pressure conversation. It is a sales conversation in as much as that we want to find out what you are looking to get out of property development, but we are not into bringing people into the program who this is not a good fit for. And believe you me, we do turn people away because this is just not the right path for them. So if that is of interest to you, then I look forward to speaking to you in person over Zoom, and if not, then please just go around our channel and have a look at some other videos. As I say, maybe you're not quite at that point in your journey. I would say suggest if you're not and want further information, then there's quite a bit of information in my book, You a Property Developer. So get a hold of that, and let's get started if that's what you want, or decide that this is not for you, and that's a result in itself, because it means that you can then focus on something else. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Again, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. We really appreciate that. There's plenty of videos, as I said before, to have a look around, and until the next time, I look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Bye bye.